and I was never at Epstein Island. I can't even spell Epstein, Okay, the thing about this generation is we lost our way because we were prospering. We lost our way because we had everything so good. And then when eggs went to $11 a dozen, that's when you realize how good we had it, right? When gasoline and all these things happened, and we didn't know what was going to happen to our country the next day for the last 4 years. It was very concerning and, kept me up at night. Every time I saw vanilla ice cream, I'd start praying. If I saw somebody fall off a bicycle, I'd start praying. No, I was traumatized by the fact that we are all good people and good Christians, and we know how to pray, and we've lived our lives, we've sacrificed, we've done everything we knew to do, but it wasn't enough. And I would go to the Lord and say, Lord, I know this is not your fault, so I'm going to confess and repent for everyone. Even if people don't know, we cannot blame you for this, right? So we know that we can't. And this was the thing that shocked me. When I had this near-death experience and I was with Jesus, I could not tell him that he was wrong. I couldn't tell him, okay, I never got this and I prayed for it. All these different things that didn't work out. The Lord would look at me like, don't you dare even say what you're about to say. Because he's the commander of my faith. And I was about to opt out with my mouth. See, the devil's worst nightmare, it's not just that you got saved. It's what you do the next day and the day after that. It's when it sticks and you catch what Jesus' blood has done for you. When you realize that when he said on the cross, it's telestai, paid in full, it's done. When he said that, he meant it. It's done. There is nothing you can do to convince him of his love for you. He has already done that because he loved you. It wasn't on merit. Okay, so that's number one. We become very aggressive. We become very aggressive toward goals, to where we don't regard our neighbor. We don't regard the consequences of mistreating people, right? So I found, just a little side journey, you like it when I tell a little story, right? You're going to be okay. I got to where I was a mentor at Southwest Airlines. I was working myself into management. And I finally told them, no, I just want to quit. I had the near-death experience, and I said, I want to go and share this with the world. So I was writing my first book, and at the time, and I was doing the mentorship thing because I thought this will be really good experience for me. So what would happen is the new classes would come out, and then it would be assigned to flight attendants that were on this program, and that we would mentor them to help them get off probation, because it wasn't really easy for the pilots or for the flight attendants to keep their job on probation. It was really hard, and it was hard because our standards were higher at Southwest Airlines than they were at some of the other airlines. So some of you in here are flight attendants, for others you probably disagree. There are pilots that would disagree. I understand that. That's not why I'm telling this story. What would happen is that I would do everything I can to talk to these men or women to say, listen, if you want this job, and you do want this job, because I was getting $60 an hour to serve Coke and Sprite, what a scam. And I would apologize for breaking the airplane if it broke, and I apologize for the weather. And those are the 4 things I did. It's Coke and Sprite, and I'm sorry for breaking the airplane, we're delayed. I'm sorry for the weather, it was my fault. And it was fine, everybody loved me. Okay, but I would train these awesome people. They were all like really good people. Very few people were not good. I felt like President Trump when I said that. I was like, these were not very good people. Yeah, like, very bad, not like you. You're watermelon head, pencil neck, Anyway, I felt responsibility because I knew that they really didn't know coming into the job like how hard it was. Now, the reason it's hard is because it's new and it's their way or the highway, which is what most jobs are. Then you get in a church and you want to make the pastor do everything you want, but the corporate world doesn't work, so I don't know why you switch that switch off and make the pastor do what you want on Sunday, but so it's just not that way in the world. So anyway, what I did was something happened to me ministry-wise, and this is before ministry. I had compassion. Imagine that. I had compassion on people because I thought, you know what? They think they know, but they don't. And I don't want them to lose their job because this is a $100,000 a year job. And this is the best company to work for. And they need to keep this job. And they don't know it. And like John Wayne said, life is tough, but it's even tougher when you're stupid. And what happens is you classify people like they're not stupid, they're just not in the know. And I had to teach people and help them to see things that they didn't see, and then say, listen, if you do this and you keep your mouth shut and you just do this, it's going to show that you have the DNA for this company and they're going to keep you. So for 6 months for the flight attendant and then a year for the pilots, you had to do everything overboard, and you were all questions, no, nothing else. And so I mentored them, and I was very careful to say, listen, man, we have to be down in the lobby of the hotel at 5 a.m., which really means 4:50. So I want to see you down here at 4:50. If you're not down here at 4:50, I'm going to call you. The reason I'm going to call you is because you're fired if you show up late. That's it. That's it. Okay, so I don't want you to get fired. So if you sleep in, I'm telling you 10 till, if you're not there, then that gives you some time to do something magic. And these women have 3 feet of hair, so it's going to be total miracle, right? Okay, so I would do that. I would say, okay, listen, when you're handing the customer this, make sure that you have eye contact with them and they have grabbed the glass before you let go of it. Because it's going to be your fault no matter what if you spill it on them. And if they write a letter in, guess what? They're not going to have the mercy they have on me at being there 30 years. You're going to be in trouble because you got a bad letter. That's the way it is. Okay, so I did that for the 6 months. So they get off. And my whole point of this is I get a call or a letter saying, hey, you got a new supervisor, and it's Sally. And I go, didn't I just mentor her? And now she's my boss. And the whole office in the city I worked in, the whole office became all these new flight attendants that I was with for 6 months. And I would walk in there and everybody would be like, can you come in and talk to me? And the relationship there was because I took the steps to invest in them. And then that created this weird thing where if you would have stepped on those people, they become your boss. The people that you mistreat become your boss. It's this weird thing. Just go to Washington, D.C. It's this weird thing that happens. So you do everything from your heart. So God did that. God thought this through, and he worked it out with the Son of God who was pre-existent. So no matter what happened in the earth after the garden, no matter what happened in the earth, God was always there to say, listen, I'm going to have to do this. I'm going to have to do this. I'm going to have to do this. And he had to keep offsetting and accommodating sin, right? 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 Okay, so something would happen. I'm coming over there. I'll be over there in a minute. This is the hot section right now. Somebody's getting this over here, that's why. Now listen to me. God because he had committed with his mouth what he believed in his heart, he was committed to seeing this thing through, which means he's going to get his family back. He's going to have his people, but they're family. Okay, so no matter what happened, he was always there to work it out somehow, right? Even if it was 8 people on an ark, right? Okay, so today, we find ourselves today in a very, very amazing situation. And that is that a witch and a warlock can get saved like that. Why? Because the power of the Spirit bears witness with a person's spirit. But you have to be that person. You have to be that person that has, you are the message. You're not just giving the message, you are the message. Okay, and you do that by being who you were made to be. You shouldn't feel uncomfortable. How many of you, well, if I ask that question, then I have to ask the other question. No. Okay, how many of you get away from the wrong person and your personality totally changes? Yeah, me too. It wasn't Kathy, no. We've been married 32 years. But, well, you got to say this stuff, you know. I mean, Jesus had to say, surely, surely. I mean, you know, surely came into the equation like twice. You know, he said it twice. You know. No, you have to tell people things because if not, you know, it ends up being a movement, a wrong movement, you know. Why is that? It's because people operate in a dynamic. And who they are is only going to produce fruit from who they're connected with. Okay, you can't be connected to the wrong person and then be yourself.
That's right.
I'm sorry. Why? Because we're not made to function any other way but to be united. We're entangled. So what Einstein did was he said, listen, there has to be a constant, and really that is an easy way out. Okay, if you put a constant in there that doesn't change in the formula, then you already got a solid platform. So he put the c as constant, which was the speed of light. The only thing is the speed of light was slowing down. They measured it in 1903, plus or minus 3. But as it got more accurate up until now, it's very minute, and it has been slowing down. Okay, so the speed of light was thought to be light was God. Okay, now they're finding out that light is not God. The light that God talks about being is full knowledge. It's truth. It's much higher. And it doesn't operate in any of the laws. It's not subject to any of the laws. God is not subject to any of the laws. He commits himself to certain things verbally, but he does not have to do anything unless he's committed to it. Right? Okay, so he has committed to us already. So we're entangled with him. So what happened was, now listen to me, I better, do you mind if I go over there? Because just for a second, you know, okay. This is the thing, is that Einstein put 186,000 miles per second in the constant, and when I think at his time of death, he realized that was not correct. Okay, but one thing he did say is that quantum entanglement is spooky, is what he said. Okay, why did he say that? I'm glad you asked. Because this is what he said. He said the intelligence and the connection between particles is faster than thought and the speed of light. And it doesn't matter how far you separate the particles from each other, they will find each other and they can talk past the speed of light. Even if you put one at one end of the universe and one at the other, they can communicate and they know that you're observing them.
That's right.
Okay, so what they do is they do experiments. This is not a science class. what I'm trying to show you as a principle here is that they did experiments where they sent light through slits. And you would think if it's one slit, you would have the photons going through and come on the other side. And they would measure them in a line, but the others would not get through. However, when they fired two that were entangled, they realized they were entangled because they would communicate with each other, and if one had a slit and one didn't, one would convert to a wave to get through, so it would stay with the one it was entangled to. And if you observe it, it knew it was observing, and it would not do what you thought it would do, because you were watching it. So you can understand why scientists like Einstein would say that's spooky. Okay, but there is this thing about entanglement, and I did this study on it, and I feel like I lost half my brain, so I'm taking supplements. I feel like my brain fried, because what I realized is that science is actually observing the very fact that God spoke everything into existence, and that it is all attached. Which means tonight, if I come to you and I give you a word from God, and it's from God, what I do is I attach you to God's destiny, and then you're attached to it forever. And if you attach to it, you become entangled with it. You become entangled with the Word of God. Because that's Jesus, really. Jesus can use people to talk to you, but he can talk to you himself. So if he gives a word from heaven and it gets to you, you get entangled with that. Okay, you can't let go of it. Why? Because it is from the other realm, and now you're attached to it because you heard it. And Paul said to Timothy, take those prophecies that have been given to you and wage war with them. Okay, why? It's because God is not stopping your destiny from happening. Satan is. The demonic is. And the reason they're doing it is because you've done nothing about it. You don't invite the witches up to the front row to have a showdown. See, my life was changed when I was in Israel. I was assigned one of the buses on a tour. So I had my thing and I preach, I do all this stuff, and we get off the bus and we go to all these places, and this is where, Enoch disappeared or whatever, and we were like all over the country, and then this one place, my favorite place was Mount Carmel. You want to know why? We went up on that mountain, and I felt the power of God on that mountain. And I'm standing up there, and I'm looking down at the altar that was built where the prophets of Baal were, and the prophet was right there. And there was one spring. Everything else is like mountain and rock and nothing. But there's trees and there's a spring, and that's where they went and got the water to put on the firewood. And I'm like, oh my gosh, and I can feel the power of God. And so Kathy and I got to the place like where the delay on what we were believing for was not happening. The delay was like, and you know what we would say? We just said it this way: I guess the wood's not wet enough yet for a miracle. Call the water. More water, please. And it would rain. It would rain. Because it always rains in New Orleans. If it doesn't rain twice a day, there's something wrong. They're altering the weather. No, during global warming 2 months ago, we had 14 inches of snow on the Gulf of America. 14 inches of snow. It blew sideways for 4 days. All the animals were like knocking on the window. Can we come in? So we started telling the devil, I guess the wood's not wet enough. That we would say the challenge is on. And you know what would happen? God would come through with a miracle like that. No, why? What triggered me being on Mount Carmel? It was the reality that someone actually believed God and challenged the enemy.
Right.
See, God is not stopping the supply He sent to you. Everything you need for life and godliness has already been given to you, to quote the Bible, right? All right, we all know that. But we know that there are people that are very credible, that have gone before us, who have experienced God, that have a testimony that God came through when we believed.